Hey y'all, I'm Karen Mayer Cunningham, the special education boss. If you've ever felt confused, overwhelmed, or just plain frustrated at the 504 IEP table, you are in the right place. Every week, I'm breaking down the rules, the rights, and the realities of special education so you can walk into meetings informed, empowered, and ready to make real change. And whether you're a parent, a teacher, an advocate, a school-based member, or somebody who's just trying to do right by a student, this podcast gives you straight talk, real answers, and tools that you can use immediately. I'm not here to play politics. I'm not here to play sides. I'm here to train people who sit at the table and teach you how to follow the law, ask the right questions, and protect the rights of students. So go ahead and hit subscribe, share this with a friend, and you know what? Meet me back here every single week. We're not just talking about change. We're making it. Because when you know better, you do better. And when we get it right for the child, we get it right for everybody. Welcome in. Why did I say welcome in? Oh, I know what yeah. How are y'all? Good. We're back. Are we supposed to say that? We're back, yes.
What's the difference between an IEP and a 504?
A 504 is a waste of good paper. However, you can take it and fold it up together and then put it under your Coke can if you're at a barbecue. An IEP is an individualized education program that provides the student support, services, IEP goals, and really great federal protections. IEP is where it's at. Somebody said, I know the answer. Thank you. Oh, we're told now. Go ahead and ask your questions now. I like that. That's very official.
They got the permission. So how would one go about getting their student evaluated to get an IEP?
Yeah, so you just simply send an email. You don't have to send some formal letter from the UN. It just says, hi, this is my formal request for my student to be tested for special education. Areas of suspected disability are learning, behavior, language, attention, social, emotional issues. We look forward to coming in and signing notice and consent. That's it. Now, once you've sent that email, that's written notification, and then they have 15 days to respond. Whatever you don't get lured into that, hey, you're in the car rider line. Come on in. We can talk about it. Stay in your car and keep your hands inside the vehicle at all times. Have you guys ever been lured in from the car rider line? Like, Miss Smith, do you have a second? Can you come in? Don't come in.
Would you use a 504 if a student has a temporary disability like a broken leg?
I wouldn't call it a broken-legged disability. I would call it an injury. Certainly, if they need supports, we can put that in place. If you're in general ed, that's not hard to accommodate that if you need time to get between classes, but that's not a federal eligibility.
Is it true in Texas that pre-K cannot get speech in the speech room, but they get it in their class?
So speech is delivered in the most appropriate setting. What you need to know about ECSE, Early Childhood Special Education Services, is the initial criteria for being in ECSE is that all of those cherubs have a speech impairment. So almost always the speech language pathologist is going to push in to deliver those services. However, if there's something acute or unique about your student's speech impairment that requires them to have a pull-out model, that's certainly something you can talk about. Exactly. That's exactly what I would have said.
Okay, someone asked, can I register and pay now for the 2-day training on Zoom and take it this summer? They said they're currently teaching and not available until the summer.
So you can take the 2-day trainings on demand anytime. You can take it in the summer. You can take it on Antarctica. I don't know if that's the location. We have our 2-day virtual that will be live and interactive this weekend. We haven't done that in over a year. We're very excited. But yes, the on-demand is available whenever you can do it.
My child has level 3 autism, so they said he only qualifies for a 504. Can I still ask for IEP?
I would say what level 3? Do we just make it up? He's not like at a 3.6. What is this, a Richter scale? Do you have a disability, and are you in need of specially designed instruction, special education, and related services? We make it too complicated. So I have a disability, and that disability impacts me in general ed settings, and I need support IEP goals. So I don't know what level 3 means, but that sounds like it probably needs support. I feel like I'm a level 3. Is that out of 3?
Okay, school doesn't have a budget for.
School doesn't have a budget for hairspray? Let's start over with
for
you.
one-to-one.
Oh, they don't have a budget for it? Oh, they don't have a budget for it, then that's fine. Just forget it. If you don't have the budget, so sorry we ask. So here's what I would say when somebody talks about their budget. That is really uncomfortable for you to be talking about your financial situation in front of my client, talking about their child that has a disability. The federal and state law requires that you support that student. If you have budgeting issues, that's something you would need to discuss with somebody else. However, if your school district is unable to provide them the supports and services they need because of a budget issue, then we're happy to be provided out-of-district placement at the district's expense. Okay, so it's just you yell at those children. Bonnie, now that your stitches are out, do you want to ask the next question?
If we choose to transport our children to school, does the district need to reimburse? We have an IEP.
No. Special education transportation is a service that's offered to some kids with disabilities. If for some reason the parent chooses to decline that and transport themselves, that's just an option that you have.
Can you explain the difference between accommodations and modifications in an IEP?
Yeah, so an accommodation impacts how you learn. A modification impacts what you learn. So I am doing this live, sitting in a chair. I could be doing it standing up. So when you modify something, you change the learner's expectation, and the product you give that student is different than the general ed students will get.
Is it bad to refuse mediation for a state complaint? For IEP meetings, arrogance, they do what they want, now filed and refused.
No, I have lots of clients that we refuse mediation. Mediation is a collaborative option of one of your dispute resolution options. It's voluntary. I'm not going to waste my time or my client's time if I believe that the other side is going to come to mediation just to waste our time and to upset the parent. But if I believe that they want to mediate in good faith, that's the question, the legal question. Do you come to the table in good faith to negotiate an outcome? If you do, let's do that. If not, I'm good. We'll just see you at the findings or the due process hearing or the federal complaint.
As a teacher, how do I advocate for a student to have a 504 IEP when the parent doesn't want them to?
So all you can do is offer that as an option. Ultimately, it's the parent's decision. Special education is consensual, and the parent is the only one that can provide that consent for the school to then begin provide services. And I want to say about that, there are many cultures, there's certain beliefs in certain populations that very much go against special education, and that's none of my business. And so ultimately, it's the end of the day, it's the parent's decision whether or not they accept the services.
Can an SLP deny direct service and only do consult because the student has a BIP?
No. I am allergic to consult. I was in an IEP meeting today, and the person was a related service provider and just done an evaluation and said the student qualified for the related service and they were going to do consult. I'm like, let's clear this up. If they need the service, then you have to, what's the word I'm looking for? Provide it. Because the other teachers don't need anything else to do.
Perfect. Can you come speak to our district's SPED department as teachers are struggling?
Yeah, I do lots of professional development. In fact, in a couple weeks, we are going to the wonderful state of Wyoming to educate. It'll be myself and another TikTok influencer called The Kid with an IEP, that kid with an IEP. So we're very excited to go to Wyoming.
Can you have an IEP if there is only a social work need? So I'm thinking maybe that means social skills need.
You can have an IEP if the student qualifies for counseling as a related service, depending on where you are in the United States. That would be a social worker, an LPC, an LSSP. There's no quantifier of the amount of services you need. It simply says, am I a student with a disability who's in need of special education and or related services? So I've got lots of kiddos that have, for example, ADHD, and they have one IEP goal. If that's the need, then that's how we address it.
All right. What are the proper steps in order to learn to be an advocate?
So you would want to align yourself with somebody that has really big hair and natural big hair. Find somebody that can train you. The reason that we started the academy years ago was because there's no training out there. There's some goofy courses that you can take for some goofy people, but it's not really good, robust training. So we train every Tuesday night. We have for over 2 years on the federal law, the federal requirements. This is a little book that's available on our link, but this is a requirement that we follow this. Even today, I did a TikTok about something that's in the law, 300.115, and I started out saying, I love how you guys like to disagree with me about stuff that's in the law, and you know what? Somebody had to get in the comments and go, that's not true! Oh my gosh. So we have so much training that's done at the break room, and he said, she said, telephone. You need to be trained about what the law is. The good news is the law is not negotiable, and the law doesn't move, and it's not much different than it was in the reenactment in 2004, which is almost 20 years old. 7.5 million children in America have an IEP, and they need advocates to represent them so they can have successful student outcomes. So please come join us and train with us. We have the weekly academy, which you are welcome to join. We have a 2-day intensive to train you to advocate for somebody or for a living. And then we have the professional mastermind, which is a game changer.
Indeed. Can a CSE chairperson continue with an annual review when a parent is super sick and asked to reschedule?
I think it's just good manners to honor people that are not able to fully participate in the meeting. We get emails all the time as advocates that one of the school-based members is unable to make the meeting. We need to reschedule. The same courtesy needs to be extended to the parent. Now, if they're using that in every meeting, then that's different. There are things that happen. Life happens to all of us.
I will pass it off to Christina.
All right. If a student qualifies for OT but also needs accommodations for ADHD, would they have an IEP or a 504?
So an OT is on eligibility. It's a related service. So first you have to have a disability, an identified disability on a 504 or an IEP. And then you are needing special education and related services. That's an IEP. But without the disability, the related service doesn't come into play.
All right. How can I make sure that my child is actually receiving adequate services at school?
So you build a robust IEP. We are charged with reasonably calculating and writing an IEP that enables a student to make progress in light of their unique circumstances. And at those meetings, I will say, I just want to let you know that Shannon will be picking up her students' raw data collection sheets at the end of every grading period. Should she bring you like a VHS tape, a zip drive, a floppy drive? How would you like to photocopy that for her? Because I also need my clients to partner with the school to make sure that we're on top of, that progress.
Okay, I am a general education teacher in an inclusion class. Can you describe what an inclusion class should look like?
What it should look like? So inclusion means that even though I have a disability, I have the ability to be supported and included in a general ed classroom with success. So inclusion doesn't mean that I'm in there. It means that I participate, right? So if I go to a restaurant and I'm sitting at a table with my husband and there's somebody 2 tables over, just because we're both in the restaurant, I'm not included. So I think a lot of times we think inclusion is we let a child with a disability come into the general ed classroom, and that is the highest form of seclusion. It often ends up being a classroom within a classroom because we have kids that just sit with their para at the back. That's not inclusion. So do I have access to the room, and am I included in what's going on in the room?
Can I ask for progress data at any time for speech, or do I need to wait for progress reports to come out at the end of the grading period?
Obviously, progress reports are a requirement. The federal law says that progress has to go out commensurate with when other kids get their grades. However, I don't think it's inappropriate to ask for updated data every 4 weeks. That way it doesn't get away from us.
All right. Can a special needs child go all the way to 21 in the public school system?
So if a child has a disability and they're in need of 18 to 22 services and they meet that criteria, Yes, but those years from 18 to 22 are not to work on academics. They're not to work on world history or long division. They're to work on those three other pieces: gainful employment, independent living, and further education.
Then what should raw data collection sheets look like?
It should look like a human
feel like what I have is lacking.
It should look like a human filled them out. That's what they should look like. You ever get raw data collection sheets and it's exactly perfect all the way down? Guess what we call that? A lie. Yeah, it's a lie. Yeah. So if you had a piece of paper and you were writing on it for 6 weeks, each thing wouldn't look exactly correct. But in the software where your IEP goal is, every software that's used in the United States has the ability to generate a blank data collection sheet, and you should fill those out based on the criteria that sits inside of the IEP language.
I love this. I was told at my son's last IEP that my I expect progress shirt was passive aggressive by his principal.
Oh, that's so nice. The real question is, ma'am, what size do you wear, and would you like a crop top or just backless?
My son's IEP was denied after testing high for dyslexia. We had to drop the speech IEP and get a 504 instead. Is that legal?
What does that mean? I tested high for dyslexia. Like you were on the roof? What does that mean? What, you're on a ladder? I don't even know what that means. You either have a disability based on criterion-based testing. If you have a speech IEP, you don't have to drop something to get something else. We call that shenanigans or lying. I just call it lying. And if you're going to lie, be good at it.
For a student that is severely impacted by autism, what types of data are legitimate data that would help determine least restrictive environment for a preschooler going into kinder?
Right, so the data is the student's unique circumstances, right? And that is the totality of how they show up in this world. In school, at home, in testing, functional needs, academic gains. It's the totality of all that. And you know what the student needs because you presented the committee with a pristine, puffy, and prescriptive present levels. Most present levels smell like pants on fire. They stink, right? They're terrible. They mean nothing. So I should be able to pick up your present levels and find that kid in the class with somebody else even telling me. Most present levels give me no data to write the rest of the IEP. But that's how you're going to start a correct IEP so that the entire IEP is correct for that student. And then you would know correct placement.
I like this, more data collection talk. Would you accept a progress report that says, quote, making progress and no other details?
No, I like progress reports that say, we stopped taking data in November. I like that. Whew. That was a lot. We just put a pin in it. I said, why did you stop taking data in November? We wanted to present new goals, but you wouldn't let us. I have all this power that I wield at IEP. I just stopped you. So the IEP progress report, while it doesn't need to be the Gutenberg Bible, it should tell me how you got to those outcomes. He's making progress. He's on track. He's not going to meet it. He's going to meet it. It should have some comment about what you were working on and if it was working. If it's not working, the school-based members are charged with calling an IEP meeting and saying, come back, let's make adjustments and do different delivery of the product, different setting, change something up. But we don't just let it just finish the year like you didn't do anything.
All right, I'm going to ask one more, and then I'm going to pass it back to Miss Shannon. You ready? All right. So what type of data would I look for in an FBA?
So you would look for data that tells you a hypothesized function of the behavior. We're assuming what we think is knowing. Let me just start over. Let's start over. Just answer that question again with feeling. We'll just end and action. Take you from the top. Christina, do you have a question?
I do. It's about FBAs.
What?
Do I need one? I might need one, actually.
You both need one.
I think we all need one at some point. But this person was asking, what type of data would you look for in an FBA?
So I would look for data that came from teachers that work with him, that would include the parent, that would show me how the kiddo shows up during the day across settings and what the behavioral need is that you need to address. And then hopefully there's a hypothesized function of the behavior, right? What do we think that he's doing to access or get rid of on this behavior? And then how do we work to mitigate the impact of that?
Can an SLP deny direct services to a child and only offer consult because a student has a BIP?
Still no. That makes no sense. If a student has a speech impairment, which is an actual eligibility that requires related service, then we have to deliver that. This is not a, you take this and you lose this. This is not a buffet. What the student needs are delivered.
School is putting child in standard without doc order or my permission. What can I do?
Why is there a standard at the school? And if that's not part of the IEP that we agreed upon, that's a violation of FAPE.
IQ tests at school went from 75 2 years ago to 85 now. Question mark. So I'm assuming, can that happen?
Sure. So
specific learning disability in math and autism.
Yeah, so there's hundreds of IQ tests that you can get, right? If I give you the WJ4, the Woodcock-Johnson 4, that's probably going to produce the lowest scores because it's so language rich versus if I gave you the Kaufman, right? There are different instruments used for different outcomes. You could have a little bit of movement that wouldn't be unusual. So I wouldn't think 10 points was that big of a move.
Can a school deny further dyslexia tests for a kid that has an IEP for general learning disorder?
General learning disorder is not a thing. I hear all of these names. So under federal law, there is a category called specific learning disability. And under there's 9 areas. If they're denying you a test, then they have to give you a robust prior written notice that has all 7 components as required under Part B, as in BAM, under IDEA.
My child is high functioning. Can I ask that they not be in the classroom with the nonverbal kids?
So it's my understanding that we don't talk about kids as high functioning, low functioning, severe. They're just children that have disabilities. And while I appreciate that we want to have the highest impact for our kids with a disability, and we were going over this last night in our mastermind, we don't use the B word in special education. We don't ask for best. We don't try to maximize their IEP. We provide them an education. They're going to be around children with disabilities and children without disabilities.
What if you request an IEE and the school wants to do a conflict resolution meeting?
I didn't know we had a conflict. So if you ask for an IEE, they either have to grant it or they have to file due process against the parent. I'm in one of those right now. It's fantastic. It's ridiculous. Say it with me. Ridiculous. Because the money the school has already spent on the first phone call with the hearing officer, because you denied the IE, which is at max $2,000 in the United States, you've already spent that money on an attorney. It's really just bad manners. Bad manners.
Progress report says, talked to teachers for data, no raw data for IEP. What should we do?
I'm sorry, what? I didn't know talking was a data collection point, because then I would be like a professional data collector because I'm a talker. So if I can't graph it and I can't chart it and I can't project it so we can all see it, it's not data. Talking to somebody about something is not what I would call data. I can't find my keys half the time. There was a young lady that we are training and her coworker said, you don't have to take data. I keep it all right here. That's a problem because you take federal funds to not keep it all right here.
What can I do if our local school claims they can't accommodate my child?
Great. We're happy for you to pay for out-of-district placement.
Can the school ask a parent to give them a copy of their child's ABA plan?
I'm always going to make my client provide whatever data will be helpful to the IEP team. They don't need a set of their Easter pictures They don't need to have a map for the scavenger hunt they went on in Disney World. But if there's data that I believe will help the IEP team make decisions, then let's do that. While I love ABA, it's a very different model, which is not usually delivered in a school setting. Very different model. And if it's helpful, then yes. But if it's going to be used to get you, then no.
How do you keep your composure as a parent when the ARG committee is teaming up on a parent?
So this is what I do for a living. I'm sure that if you'd seen me a few years ago in my son's IEP meeting, I was a peach. So my job is to represent them, just like if you were in a legal setting, there'd be somebody representing you in court. My job is to say child-centered focus, but I certainly don't let school-based members purposely and be rude to my client. If they do that, I'm certainly going to address that any more than I would let my client purposely be rude to a school district, which I've had that as well. So these meetings are emotional, and I understand and appreciate both sides. But at the end of the day, we have to reset, refocus, and provide the student what they're required under state and federal law, which there's never been a pass for.
How do we discuss you possibly being
amazing?
I asked it twice. I think they're asking how do they become an advocate?
Oh, I thought you meant, how do we discuss me being amazing? I thought that was
you. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe they want you to be their advocate too. I don't know.
Yeah, we have lots of trainings. If you're interested in representation, we have an amazing team of advocates that I've personally trained. You just email us at advocate@specialeducationacademy.com. If you would like to go out there and crush it and advocate for kiddos, we would love to train you.
Do you ever side with the school district in a disagreement?
So I side with the data. And if the data supports what the school is proposing over what the parent is proposing, I'm always going to go with the data. Believe me, there are people that I don't advocate anymore because they disagreed with me. Okay, that's fine. I'm not in the agree with you business. I'm in the advocating for children. And we have to follow the parameters and limitations of the law and the parameters and limitations of public education. I appreciate it. I've been in the fight, and there was nothing more important to me than when I was advocating for my son. But you have to be reasonable, and sometimes parents aren't reasonable, sometimes schools aren't reasonable, sometimes attorneys aren't reasonable, sometimes advocates aren't reasonable. So it's my job to make sure that I stay student-focused and based on what I know and the information I've been given, help give recommendations to the parents about what I believe would be best for their student.
Next steps when child has reading and math intervention since second grade and their level is still low. I don't know what the current grade is, though. Tiffany, can you tell us what the current grade is?
So somebody just asked me how much do I know about advocating for deaf children going to residential school. That's interesting because tonight we're starting a series on expanded core curriculum. We would love to have you join us. So if you've had an intervention for a child, whether it's IEP or 504 or RTI or MTSS, and nothing's changing and there's not movement, then you have to do something different. It's not just going to overnight change.
And Tiffany responded, the student is now in 5th grade.
Yeah, then what we're doing is not working.
My son has an IEP, but the school has no proper placement. What should I request?
A district placement.
And I'll ask one more and then pass it on to Bonnie. Is it acceptable for staff at the school to not know your child is on an IEP?
It's illegal. So I find things that are illegal not acceptable.
Okay, so is taking the STAR test in Texas for high school, do they have to do the 30 hours of tutoring?
No. The school has to offer the 30 hours. I'm sure that's not exactly what they said to you. And so when they offer it, I say, thank you so much, Christina. We will accept the hours at 0. And knowing that if Shannon and her family would like to access the hours during the academic year, the district was more than ready to provide them. But no, House Bill 4545 is a joke. Why do you say that, Karen? Because these are children that are academic years behind. and we make them take tutoring hours at grade level, but they're not on grade level. So the intervention is giving them levels that they can't do. It's not filling in the gaps in their deficits. So it's completely stupid, and it was driven by moneymakers and Pearson and people that write state testing, and it's shenanigans. Did I mention I think it's awful? I think I did. Yeah.
ESY was denied for Braille instruction only. What data should I provide? I am a TBI.
Okay, so ESY is two prongs. Prong number 1. Student has documented regression on IEP goals with a profound amount of time to recoup them. Rarely happens. Number 2, concern for loss of critical skills. So Braille would be a concern for a loss of critical skill. So we'll take prong number 2. I'm sure they're not going to deny you Braille instruction over the summer. If they do, if 30 hours isn't helpful and we don't want to do summer school, then what? Then you just pass on it and let your kids just be children over the summer. Just let them be little humans. Or as my grandmother said, let them go outside and the stink blow off of them. We don't just need to keep educating and tutoring and come in early and stay late. Just let them be children.
Okay, so this one says accommodations are not being implemented, but the school and the teachers say that they are. What can she do about that?
If you believe they're not being implemented, I would file a complaint with the U.S. Department of Education Office of Civil Rights.
Okay, can a district deny a one-to-one if the teacher and therapist are recommending it?
The school can deny anything. It's amazing what I've seen denied over the years. And then if that is the case, you'll have to utilize one of your 6 dispute resolution options.
And an autism diagnosis automatically qualify for a 504 or an IEP?
It doesn't automatically qualify you for anything. Having a disability doesn't automatically qualify you for anything. So there's 2 prongs, right? So 504 says I have a disability and I'm in need of accommodations. An IEP says I have a disability and I'm in need of special education and related services. So there are people that have disabilities that need neither of those.
Transitioning from ABA to public school, any recommendations for an IEP?
You're going to a very different setting where it's not one-on-one, and it's not one-on-one. So I just make sure that you have a very robust IEP that's going to address his needs. If you can, I would have somebody from the school district at least observe him in the ABA setting.
School says child has to advocate for himself to receive his accommodations on the IEP. What do we do?
Wow. So the child with a disability has to ask the school, who takes state and federal funds, to do their job and not violate his civil rights. Yeah, not true.
Child is at grade 4 level in reading comp and is going into high school in August. How can one advocate for an IEP?
You advocate for an IEP by first asking for special education testing. So if you're that many years behind, there's something going on. So I'd ask for a full IEP, a full individual evaluation to look at all areas of eligibility. And then based on those assessments, you should be able to determine if there's a need.
The school wants to self-contain, not try to offer more support. It's because they don't want to star test. How can they do this?
It's amazing what they can do. I sat in a meeting the other day where a 5-year-old has been suspended 11 times. 5-year-old. Whenever, unfortunately, a bad business has something in their mind and they're set to do it, they do it. And sometimes there are bad people that shouldn't work at school districts.
What is required in an ARD for the committee to go over?
So an ARD is only in Texas. That stands for Admission, Review, and Dismissal. That's what we call our IEP meetings. And it depends on the meeting that was called, right? Or if you're in an MDR, if you're in a dismissal, if you're in a graduation, if you're in a transition, if you're in a transfer, if you're in a read, it depends on the type of IEP meeting you were invited to. So it's very important that when you get that notice, you look at the top. Is this a brief? Is this a review? Is this a revision? Is this a just take up 2 hours of my life that I can never get back? Sometimes that should be the name of it. Just 2 hours of your life that are gone. Hey, Shannon, you're it.
If committee requested autism testing, how long does it take to get results?
It depends on what state you're in. Testing can be as brief as 30 days and as long as 60 days.
What happens if your student refuses an accommodation?
Then you need to chart that, right? I can't make you put your glasses on. I can't make you take a break. I can't make you receive oral admin. So that happens. That's the reason we track accommodations. Are they used RE, routinely and effectively? Say it with me. Routinely and effectively. And if they're not, then let's get rid of them. I'm going to answer this young lady, Neen XOXO. No pass, no play is being implemented even though accommodations are not being implemented and failing. So if you believe that your student is going to have a possibility of not passing their grades and they have an IEP, you can put in the IEP that they are exempt from the no pass, no play rule as long as they are making progress on their IEP goals.
15-year-old student at 18-month level, parent doesn't want placed in life skills. Lack of resources. And recommendations.
So here's the thing. Public school, it's not the Ritz-Carlton. It's public school. And there's about generally 3 settings in public school. Generally. We have general education. We have special ed classes that are for kids that are a few years behind academically, resource rooms. And then we have alternative settings, which are called life skills. I wish there were 50 settings. There aren't. It's not a perfect system, but it's the only special ed system in the world that's federally funded. And I have kids all over the globe that are in different settings, and that's a totally another conversation.
This one's been asked a couple times by a couple different people in different ways, but this person has a IEP meeting Friday and they haven't received the invitation yet. And then someone else said that they got their invitation 24 hours prior to the meeting.
So an invitation is not the notice. So you might get the invitation. Bonnie might go, oh, here's the link since we started 12 minutes ago. Did you need that? Yeah, I need the link. I need pancakes and a sausage link. Ba-dum-bum. So it doesn't matter when you get the invitation. It matters when you got the notice of the meeting. So as long as you got the notice, then they're in compliance with 5 days written notice. But I just email them and say, Dear Muffin, would you be so kind when you're done watching Yellowstone tonight to send me the link for the meeting at 7:15 in the morning? I have one at 7:15 in the morning. I do.
What is a manifestation determination?
So an MDR is a manifestation determination resolution meeting. And so we're asking 2 questions to the committee. A student has had an action that required consideration for discipline. And so the first question to the committee, is the action a result or related to the student's known disability? Number 2, or is it a result for the IEP not being implemented? So today, I won't tell you where. It starts with the word another state. The answer to both of those questions was yes. That it was a manifestation determination of his disability and the school didn't implement the IEP. But other than that, they did a great job. I'm going to answer this one question. Are direct instruction SPED, not self-contained rooms, considered resource rooms? They could be. That could be a behavioral room. It just depends. But a resource setting is for kiddos that are behind academically. It's all disabled peers, and they're many years behind, and they're working on those deficits. Yes, I would love to be on a video at your kid's IEP meeting. I come to screens all over the place. So let me tell you what happened today. So this lady, she's like this the whole meeting. I said, is it possible that we could see the other miserable people in the meeting? I didn't say that. I said, is it possible we could see all the people in the meeting? This is my computer. Is it? And we can't do that. I said, we do it all over the nation every day. Okay, hold on. And then they put a computer in the corner. Man, we had Johnny and Amber on Zoom. I feel like you can get this done. Don't you? Yeah. And listen, this looking up at somebody's nostril cavities, unless you're a dentist, it made me uncomfortable. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Can a child qualify for ESY during initial IEP evaluation before even starting preschool?
Sure. So if we know based on the acuity of their disability that they're going to need services over the summer, let's say that we go in tomorrow and Christina's little nephew is 2.99 years old and he's going to start his special ed tomorrow. And we know based on the acuity of his disability that they are going to need ESY. You have to address ESY at least in their annual IEP. So your initial IEP would be an annual. So it's yes. Oh, you want to hear what else I heard this week? So I'm not kidding. ESY is for kids that are really disabled. Oh, not just like one really, but like really times. And she goes, I don't know, ma'am. She did though.
Can speech be dropped just because child is moving from middle to high school? IEP speech and language delay.
No, speech is dropped because there's no longer a need for special education and related services. We don't drop because you feel like it. Special education is not a feeling, it's a legal obligation. It's an obligation, like your first marriage.
Okay, we have the academy. It starts in 10 minutes. Can you tell everyone how they can join?
Yes, you could just join. You could join in your heart, or you could actually go to specialeducationacademy.com.
When is the MDR completed? Before or after the disciplinary action?
It depends. I can call an MDR meeting anytime. I don't have to wait till 10 suspensions or 10 suspensions or 10 days out of placement. You can call an MDR to address the problem. At an MDR meeting, you're also charged with doing a new functional behavior assessment. You're welcome, Neen. So nice that people say thank you. I had somebody in the live last week, not as attractive as you people. You are the most awful person. Or I don't know if it's awful or hateful. They weren't very good with their spelling on TikTok. You know what? At least I'm at the top of my game. I'm at the top. So. Why would you have to,
hang on, it moved on me.
why would you have to hold an IEP meeting for summer school? If that's going to be part of your programming, it's part of what you agreed to. Credit recovery, a student maybe had a bunch of absences. There are reasons you would have an IEP meeting for summer school.
So if you refuse the 30 hours tutoring, can school take electives away?
No, because that would make them liars. I would say our friend Mike Morath is going to be very concerned that you're lying to parents. And Dr. Justin Porter wouldn't like that either. And if you keep it up, I'm going to call Mayer Cunningham. Is that what you want? It's not. The law simply states that this school district has to offer you the hours. And just like broccoli, I appreciate the offer. I won't be taking any of it, though. Thank you. And nobody ever says anything. But if you don't know and you buy the propaganda and your kid that's 3 years behind sits in 8th grade tutoring and doesn't know how to write a paragraph. So there's that.
Okay, how can people contact you if they want you to be their advocate?
They would call me at 1-800-SIZZLE. That's 1-800. Oh, no, that's for the gas prices. I'm sorry. I wonder if that number is available. It probably is. Now, you would email us at advocate@specialeducationacademy.com. Christina, can you call that number, 1-800-SIZZLE, and see who picks up? I feel like somebody that we would know on TV would pick up. I know, Kiki, that's not enough number.
I'm calling now.
It's an extra Z. It's 3 Z's in sizzle. Zizzle. Y'all are all dialing right now. Yes.
Okay, now I'm going to ask one more question. Can good grades make an IEP null and void? Can they get rid of the IEP if student is doing well?
Nope. I had a student that was the salutatorian. That means she was a Torian and she saluted. So if there's an educational need, there's an educational need. This is what I think about your grades. They're not real. By the way, if your kid is the salutatorian or the valedictorian, they're probably not. We can't believe in grades anymore, ever. Say that. And we're going to take one more question because I have to put on some more lipstick and do a costume change. Not really. But I do have to put on more lipstick. What if we had IEP shirts that said, it's not me, it's you? The reason I IEP on Zoom is so I don't bite anybody. I feel like that would be a good shirt. Okay, we'll take one more question, then we're going to jump off. Mums. Yes, Kiki.
How do you fight the removal of OT when the student clearly needs it?
I would say, where's the data? Where's the evaluation that was completed that says he no longer meets eligibility? So we got into special ed, same way you get out. We had a test to get in. You have to have a test to DNQ them. Okay? So you need to book me sooner than later. Sooner is before later, or later than sooner. Okay? All right, you guys, we will see you on the academy. Remember, we get it right for the child. We get it right for everyone. Hit subscribe, share this with a friend, and you know what? Meet me back here every single week. We're not just talking about change, we're making it. Because when you know better, you do better. And when we get it right for the child, we get it right for everybody.